Cool. So maybe let's get started with the call. I was going to do just an update for everyone. Um, and so I posted some things in Telegram, and I'll just kind of quickly go over that. And then I was going to go a bit more in depth on both our short-term and our sort of like mid/long-term roadmap, just so that people kind of have a little bit more context. So the kind of immediate things are the timing for the second testnet upgrade test that we're planning to do. We've discussed this internally, and we initially were hoping to do it also in August, but given the fact that it's summertime and a lot of people, including people on our team and other validators we've spoken to, are having vacations in August, um, we think it makes sense to push it until September, after sort of the first week of September, which is when everything basically restarts, like schools and everything restarts in the States, and I imagine in Europe as well. In a lot of places it's similar. So we're currently planning that for the second or third week of September. Um, we're going to try to do just a minimal test. We're not going to be upgrading in this test to 0.36 of the Cosmos SDK. We're going to try to do we've kind of rethought our plan, and that that was pretty ambitious, but is pretty complex given that the Cosmos SDK wasn't designed. They didn't design that version upgrade to be upgradable for a live upgrade to work with that upgrade. So we're going to the plan is to coordinate with them about doing that in the future so that the live upgrade handlers are written. So this test will just be a minimal upgrade test, but with a new sort of upgrade daemon process that will basically be a process that runs the XRND or the GaiaD binary as a subprocess. And when you hit the upgrade height, this process will just simply stop the current binary and start the new binary at the proper height. So we've already done some work on that. It still needs to be tested a bit more, and so we're going to kind of test it and get it to a point where we're confident using it in a smaller kind of internal test net. And then we'll try to do a public test of that. And our hope is that with this kind of upgrade daemon, that the upgrade process will be much smoother and hopefully can be done within a minute or two, so that there's almost zero downtime. So that's sort of the most immediate like testnet roadmap update. I also noticed, and I think several other people, commented that the block explorers had broken. That was actually an issue on our node that was running RPC and LCD ports. So I fixed that. If anybody sees any other issues with block explorers, please let us know, and we'll try to correct them as soon as possible. But after that, now with the block explorers working again, you should see that the powers are much higher than they were before, because we did kind of like the upgrade resulted in a 10,000 10,000x increase in everybody's voting power, so that you only need 100 trees as opposed to 1,000,000 trees to stick a node. And another thing I posted about is if anybody wants to check out this pull request that we're working on for a specification for ecosystem service credits, they can check it out. We're pretty excited about this pilot project that we're working on, that will make use of these ecosystem service credits, which are essentially non-fungible tokens that are kind of tied to a specific geopolygon. With that, I want to give a kind of an overview of our sort of near-term and long-term roadmap, and maybe put all of this that we're working on now in a bit more context. We are also going to publish very soon a blog article that kind of goes over the same stuff that I'm going to cover now in the call.
Is it worth, Aaron, is it worth just having a brief pause to see if anybody has questions or thoughts about the upgrade that happened, and any questions about the sort of testing the upgrade module again before we get into the roadmap stuff?
Sure, we can, yeah, we can do that. We can kind of, yeah, does anybody have any questions or has any comments, you know, anything they want to share from the upgrade experience?
Yeah, I think you guys missed a check was the grade. I couldn't follow, but I'm pretty sure that I did the swap exactly as per the instruction, and I think that the problem was that someone possibly started the upgraded node earlier, and actually this was the cause of the problem rather than a group of people starting them later, so we had to reset the chain data. I think that there was a missing check, more like if the newer version of the node was run earlier than the fork block.
So I think
Yes.
Ethan, do you want to comment on that a little bit?
Definitely. I wrote an article on it. I don't know if you saw it on the Regen blog.
Really?
On the Regen blog and Medium, I wrote it back, and basically that's a few of the learnings. Is what happened is apparently the code, I didn't check exactly why, but ran the block at 1503, no, 1500, 3 seconds after 1500 UTC, and froze at the other block. It was 9 seconds after 1500 UTC. That was when it stopped. Everyone had stopped by themselves. A number of people had scheduled at exactly 1500 to switch binaries, to be precise, because they're, to do it very properly. Although that was technically correct and should have been correct, it should have worked. The idea was actually to wait until all those nodes stopped, and after they stopped, then upgrade them. So that was a bug, apparently a bug that we stopped one block too late. Because we stopped one block too late, then those people that did it based on the wall clock and not on the blockchain had upgraded one block too early, and then we're off. We want to make sure a few things. One, that we had a function to like replay last block, so you're able to revert that last block and continue again and fix it without resetting the sync the whole node, as well as a check that the new binary will refuse to run if it's too early, right? Or it'll check not just the old binary stops at some point, but the new binary refuses to run too early, to make sure that can't happen again.
So
yeah.
I just wanted to check though. Ethan, you're saying that some people had stopped their processes based on the wall clock, but I think that Fox who was commenting just now, that you followed the instructions and you waited for your process to stop, but you still had an issue.
Yeah, exactly.
So you waited for the process to stop, and so I mean.
Yep, I waited for the halt message, and I had previously compiled, built the node, and I had it in a separate folder. So when I had the halt message, I just Control plus C to stop it. Then I replaced the daemon, and I restarted, and I had the error message.
So could this be? I mean, could this be an issue with the consensus time in Tendermint not actually being correct? There being some issue with consensus time.
I have so many ideas about what happened that day.
I'm still not very aware how Cosmos Network works. I have been working mainly with Ethereum and Ethereum forks and so on. But a possible scenario would be that a certain group of nodes would have started before the halt message, and somehow get the network to accept a block with the new node before the actual halt.
And actually, seemed to be the opposite. It was actually, there was a node after. I only used after, like a few days after the thing to do a rehash. If you look at the block explorer, the 626 block, something whatever 626, was run with the old version and 627 with the new version. But 626 block header time was already 3 seconds after 1500 UTC. I don't know. We have to look at this more. And I think actually, I don't know where the current, yeah, it's a bit, this code is pretty old and it's been rebased and fixed up a few times, except for the version that was running on the old binaries. So it's probably been fixed since then. But yeah, there's definitely some bug in that somewhere we should dig into more.
So what we can do instead of doing a time-based upgrade is we can do an upgrade just directly based on the block height. So I think what we found is that there needs to be more testing if we're using the block time.
Yeah, actually, that makes more sense, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I think the block time makes sense if the time stamping is if the consensus time is correct, because people know exactly which time they have to be paying attention. But I think block height is going to be more fail-proof. So let's do the next upgrade with the block height. And then with the upgrade daemon, maybe that's the main thing that went wrong. It's just the block height versus the block time. And then in the future, we need to either, maybe it's an issue upstream with Tendermint. We need to do more testing to see why that happened. Because I guess we were thinking that people had stopped their nodes. But it seems like no, actually that you were following, you did exactly what you needed to do, and there was some issue with your block time.
In my opinion, the problem was related when the validator node was too great, and start again. I connected to a pair was not great, and it's in the block behind. In that moment, the node stopped. But if the upgrade with your script is at the same time, and the upgrade does not have problem. But when the node start and connect to the another pair, where is no upgrade, or is in another block behind, then repeat the block and the node stop. For what I can see that day, I'm not sure.
I think just like most forks in blockchain in general, selecting block height would be way better. It's just no way to go wrong there.
It has to be a block height, no block time. In my opinion, too. You can forget block time. You need a block height, no block
exactly.
time. For my
the thing is that Tendermint is supposed to have a consensus time. That is something that is sort of important to make sure that it does work right. I agree that block height is going to be more reliable, but I think we also have uncovered maybe some bug in Tendermint's consensus time, and we do need the consensus time for other features. Like there are other places in the functionality we want to launch that consensus time is important.
It is network is doing some similar and it's working fine. We are now to fork my net in real time. I hope this is working well, but what we do in testnet work fine, and now we are going to do the same in my net.
And you're using
fork. We are going to fork and don't stop the chain.
But you're using block height or block time?
No, block time, no.
Block height,
yes.
Okay.
I have to review that, but in my opinion, it's like that.
Yeah, maybe you can somehow cross verify. Just use the block height for the actual halting of the network, and then record the consensus time if you want. If Tendermint kind of requires that.
Okay, so yeah, so the next time we'll do the block height. I mean, I think that's clearly what we should do for the next time, but I think that it seemed like, Ethan, maybe you had some theory, like you suspected maybe this is what had happened, that there was a block time issue. I think it is important that we follow up with the Tendermint team about the block time, just to make sure that because that is one of the guarantees that Tendermint says that it provides, is that all nodes agree on what the time stamp is.
I need to run this. It's far. I think postmortem it's hard because that code is. I need to dig out the exact version of that code there. I would just do height for now on. I agree that to make the next one work best, we use height. We have rollback functionality if people get on the wrong, like one one block on a different version of the other network for whatever reason to have a rollback functionality, and we try to automate this better with more checks. I think the time thing we should look into eventually, but we have to reproduce before we go to tenement team. We have to reproduce and find exactly why that failed, and reproduce it in a small test case, and then
which we probably need to do
yeah.
in an internal test net, like spin up 10 nodes internally and test.
We'll probably have to run the exact same block. It's a long thing, so I think let's stay away from time for now and stop on height. I think it's a good solution for now, and
Cool.
times it's more experimental. We'll try to get it fixed before eventually, but yeah.
Okay. Cool. Does that sound? Yeah, I mean, thanks for that feedback. Does that all sound good for the approach for the next test then?
Another way that you could possibly solve that, I'm not sure if it will work, but it makes sense at least, is to add some kind of check or logic that the new node version cannot be run prior the update time.
Yeah, Ethan wrote about that in his blog that he wants.
Yeah, because people were able to just build and start the new node before the actual upgrade, which obviously caused problems as well.
Yeah, so Ethan wrote in his blog that we need to add that check, and it's something that we can't do for the next check because the well, actually no, I think we can add that for the next check, that the next binary that we publish won't work until you hit that upgrade height. So that's one of the things that Ethan captured in his postmortem. Yeah, it's because it's so easy to mess up. Now you have two binaries and you're messing around trying to test things and you accidentally run the wrong one.
Yeah, I initially thought it's because I'm probably the only idiot that is running a validator on Windows, but but I guess it wasn't that.
I wonder if that maybe had some issue with the time, but there was many other people that had that issue too. So
yeah, exactly. That's why I first thought that it would be a cause of the problem, but then we had a bunch of people that actually had that same issue. And I don't think anyone else run a validator on Windows. There is no instructions or anything about it.
Yeah, well, cool. Anything else on the upgrade? What to do? This plan for the next upgrade?
That was a helpful conversation. So thanks everybody.
Yeah, definitely.
In my opinion, better don't use one script for grade. People need to do that in manual way for understand the process and see why fail and why not. Because if everybody's running one script and don't fail, we don't know it's in real world it's going to fail. It's not using the script. For general, in real world, you don't use one script because you want to see what happened or not. But in my case, just that.
So you think that we shouldn't be using the script approach?
I don't know. In my opinion, like people like to do, but if everybody uses the same script for grade, then how you be sure see in real life people don't use the script is going to work?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think for the next time we'll have, one of the goals is to have a better script, but the script is always optional. I mean, I think we always want to have it so that there's
yes, that's good. Have a script,
manual way to do it.
But the option that don't use is fine too.
Yeah.
And test that, some people say, oh, let's go 50% use the script and be sure the 50% don't use the script. In that way, how it works. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, Melia, that we actually, even people sort of beforehand say, hey, I'm going to use the script, and hey, I'm not. We test it at different ratios of people using the script. We'll learn a lot that way.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, cool. So, I mean, one of the things we've had in the design is that this is kind of a opt-in. The automation of this is opt-in. So yeah, I mean, there will definitely be both options still. Yeah.
And it sounds like what Mele is suggesting is interesting here is that maybe we just run a couple of different upgrades where, you know, maybe we just say, hey, 100% of people please use the script. Because we just want to see what happens. And hey, 50% of people use the script because we want to see what happens. And it's just testing so that we're sort of calibrating and learning what's happening there. May be useful. Is that kind of what you're suggesting, Melia, that we kind of just to understand how that aspect of the upgrade module is working?
Yeah, something like that. It's good to know how the people is doing that, because I know some people like the script and other people don't like, but I don't know how many people is doing in one way or another. I know the last time I did the way I failed because I don't use the script. I am very sure if I was using the script, my way was going fine, but like I don't use the script file. I want to see the next script, see more people doing it my way and fail. Why? It's only you need to know how many people is doing in one way and another. Just that.
Yeah, so we'll just ask, we'll kind of have people do a poll, say, you know, we have these different options available, and can you just, you know, respond to the poll and say which option you're going to use. And then after we do the upgrade, we can kind of poll people and see how did your approach work?
Sounds great.
Yeah, in general, I don't think that this is some kind of a serious problem. It's something that you guys can easily cover for the next update. And if there is a problem with the next update, I guess you can add another update in the test agenda anyway.
Yeah.
After all, the end goal is to have it all clear and easy.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll just have to, you know, do iterations and do it until we get it right, so that once mainnet is launched, then we don't have these sort of problems.
Absolutely.
For me, no, it's not going to be one surprise. It's the meeting is going to be one very soon about the how to grade, because all the teams I am working, I see the team worry about this for manual, and in my opinion, the admin have to be working that in that moment too. So in long term, should have to grade in the long term. But now I see that all the teams are worried about that.
I'm not sure if I quite got that. You're saying that
I can see now, for example, your team is worried about the auto grade. But in my opinion, the Tendermint team is working in that too. At this moment for
working on.
Yes, in my opinion, I can ask that to Sagi or any can ask that, but in my opinion, has to be in the right plan of Tendermint, because everybody is want to break and have to have this problem now.
With upgrade stuff?
Well, no, Tendermint is Tendermint team is actually working with us to kind of make sure to work on that. We're like they're
an implementation Tendermint software, right?
No, I mean we're working on this together for the Tendermint team.
No, yes, now I understand now.
Because we've had conversations with Jack, like basically we're getting ICF funding. I mean, yeah, we're going to get ICF funding to work on this together with the Tendermint team. So kind of
yes, that's my point. They are worried about that now, so we can focus in more. But it's cool you are working in that with Dave. It's very cool. Congratulations on that.
Yeah, I think in some way, Melia, they're actually depending on us a little bit to do these tests and give them back the information about how it goes, how
yes, it's what
et cetera. Yeah.
Yes, I can see that clear now. for me, it's clear that part now.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Aaron, maybe it's a good time to shift and just because I think that context is sort of related to sharing a little bit about the roadmap and where we're going, and maybe sharing a little bit about the relationship between Regen Network and ICF and Tendermint, and just, you know, how we're kind of seeing all of this move forward.
Cool. Yeah. Great. I can go ahead and do my kind of little overview of the roadmap. So there's kind of Ethan is working on a blog article on this, and so we're hoping that will be out in the next day or two. But there's I want to separate between what is kind of the long-term vision, and then what are the things that we're hoping to work on in the next several months before mainnet launch. Just give me a second. I don't want to find my notes on this. So the pieces that we're working on right now are centered around kind of infrastructure level usability. So this upgradability is one part of it, and the reason this is so important for us is because we want to maintain a consistent ledger of ecological state, so that in particular being able to track when things were timestamped on the ledger and have that information available in sort of a durable, persistent ledger. So being able to upgrade a single chain and not having to kind of dump the state and start a new chain, and then somebody has to keep the old records is the type of network we want to move forward with and have at launch. So that's kind of in the usability domain. And as we were saying, we've had conversations with All in Bits or Tendermint Inc. and ICF about Regen Network taking the lead on working on this functionality to get merged upstream into the Cosmos SDK. Other things in the usability area are better key management. So we talked about this a bit in the blog that we published after the hack Atom in Berlin. Basically, groups being able to have accounts that are based on groups of keys as opposed to a single key. Being able to have sort of advanced like delegation permission systems that allow people to have keys in their have keys that kind of have limited permissions, that could be on a smartphone to have some limited permissions to do certain things, are important for the usability of our applications by end users. So those are some of the things that we're working on kind of early to make sure that we have the basic infrastructure and that we don't have sort of some core level infrastructure problems when we launch the chain with our actual users, who could be out in the field, you know, on a farm trying to collect data and do an assessment. We want to make it super simple and super reliable for them to do that sort of thing. So the key management is also something that we have discussed with the Cosmos SDK team and with Interchain Foundation, and is slated to be eventually upstreamed into the Cosmos SDK. So those are kind of you know not pieces that are as much a core part of the Regen Network kind of value proposition on its own. So I want to talk about some of the things that are coming up after in the future. The nearest term thing is around ecological assets. And I posted the pull request that we're currently working on with a specification for ecosystem service credits. So this could be something like a carbon credit, but it could be a different sort of ecosystem service credit, like a biodiversity credit, a water credit. And there could be many different types of credits like this that are created within the system, many different issuers. And eventually there could be a marketplace for these credits to be traded, and that the functionality for having that sort of both for issuing the credits and for also the decentralized exchange of those credits is discussed in this pull request. We're working on this in coordination with a pilot project based out in Australia for doing biodiversity credits. And so that's underway right now, and we're hoping to have something ready for them to use and actually sell these credits within the next few months, maybe 6 months timeframe. So those are some of the things that are kind of our near-term roadmap items that we want to have ready for mainnet launch. And what we launch with mainnet might even be a minimum viable version of each of these functionalities, like minimum viable upgrade support, minimum viable key management support, and the minimum viable ecosystem service credits support, so that we can have a mainnet launch that has the functionality that we need for this pilot to work. And then we have the ability to to smoothly upgrade the blockchain as we add new functionality. For instance, we may just launch with the ability to issue credits and to exchange them, but not to have the decentralized exchange sort of marketplace. And that may come later. So, we'll see how these things work. Things always, in the software world, and especially in blockchain, things always seem to take a little bit longer than you hope. So we're trying to kind of really hone in on what are the minimum things we can build to create value, launch those, get people using them, and add do incremental improvements. Longer term things that we're looking to build on chain would be geospatial indexes on chain, so that you can, for something like an ecosystem service credit, you can prevent somebody from issuing the same type of credit twice for a given piece of land and create an asset which is basically fraudulent assets. So the ability to have robust geospatial checks on chain, the ability to store ecological data in it, or to track ecological data that is collected in the field, so that there's kind of a verified timestamp of when data was collected, and that we eventually build up an index of ecological data that supports these type of ecological assets that are created, these credits that are created, so that you can basically link back to an audit trail for why a credit was issued. And then a next step after that would be more advanced types of contracts that are created around basically this ecological data or ecological claims that are verified, so that you could have different types of escrow scenarios, payments between multiple parties around incentivizing ecological health, and also different types of ecological assets that we may create to kind of incentivize long-term ecological health and make that financially viable, both for people investing in those type of regeneration projects and for the farmers themselves. And even a bit further out, although we've already started working on this a bit, we're intending to do more decentralization around the verification of ecological claims themselves, using satellite data. We have some proof of concepts of satellite data analysis where we can detect various land use practices, even have some rough correlation to carbon metrics. And the plan is long-term. This would be mostly based on off-chain computations, but to do off-chain computations in a way that makes them more decentralized, more Byzantine fault tolerant, effectively using kind of more trustless oracles that have a certain protocol to basically decentralize the whole process of verification of something like a carbon credit or a biodiversity credit, issuing that credit, the marketplace for trading it. So these are, that's kind of an overview of the both long-term and short-term. And just want to give everybody that's kind of joined the testnet that context, so that people know where we're heading, both in the next few months and then in the next several years. And like I said, we'll have a blog article soon that goes over the same roadmap. So with that, I'll take a pause and see if anybody has any questions or comments on that.
it might be useful to just share another couple pieces of information from kind of the partnership and design side of things. So Aaron, that did a great job of sort of doing an overview of the technical roadmap and what's happening. You know, like what is it that this amazing group of validators is securing, right? And then on the other side of Regen Network is really, we're building this proof of stake network for a particular constituency and group of users. And so we're in deep user-centered design that's generating these sets of functions as needs right now in the marketplace. And that relates to us participating in the Techstars Accelerator, the Sustainability Techstars Accelerator with the Nature Conservancy, which is the second biggest conservation not-for-profit in the world, alongside World Wildlife Foundation, and sort of a set of other pilots that we've been doing. And that's sort of why I think maybe uniquely validating on Regen's testnet is, you know, in the next couple of rounds is going to be one of the more exciting testnets to be on, because we are actually going to be pushing live pilot contracts and token issuance through the testnet with different partners. And so, you know, and that's sort of what's driving all of the utility that Aaron's talking about. So just thought I'd sort of add that, because so many blockchain projects are kind of abstract and it's not really clear who it's for. But in this case, there's like really a community that it's for, that we're doing all of this work for. So
that sounds great, guys. So if I got that correctly, you need kind of a dashboard, but you want it to be as decentralized as possible, like not using centralized servers and so on, but in a form of a web application. Or did I get that wrong? I mean, do you need this kind of a dashboard plus a marketplace or?
Yeah. So we want to have a dash, like, for instance, we want the ability to have to say go to like a given geo region and zoom in and see which credits have been issued on a piece of land, which contracts have been agreed upon, what data has been tracked, and have that be as decentralized as possible. Now, that might involve some of the parties that might involve some mix of public and private. So
this is
anything that gets, we want to have the ability to store.
And this data is in smart contracts, right?
that's correct.
Okay,
Well,
that's interesting, because
no. So, it's not in smart contracts. There's going to be different, the data will be, some of it will be just stored directly as domain kind of models. There will be assets, and then there will be some smart contracts. But
yeah, I mean the actual footprint data, like I imagine it's some kind of snapshot with certain parameters and measurements. This is the data I'm referring to, because if it's in the transactions in the box or stored in a smart contract, this can be built into a decentralized application using IPFS for front end, which makes it completely decentralized and out of any central control.
Yeah, so you could have you could just publish a kind of a hash on the blockchain and a link to some IPFS data, or you know, even potentially store, like for a higher cost, the data directly on the blockchain. We might have both those options. You have your own private server, and the reason for that would be if you're a farmer and you want to share some of your data but not all of your data, you could hash the data, publish it on the blockchain. And one thing that we envisioned is eventually there could be a data marketplace where farmers could you know, be uploading data, and if they want to, if like a company that's doing like crop analytics wants to buy their data, then they can do an on-chain payment to get that data. But yes, it could be fully decentralized. if a person is okay with all their data being public, then they can make it all public. But we're assuming that not everybody is willing to want to create mixed public scenarios.
Yeah, got it. It can be encrypted and so. My other question was, is Regen Network looking into joining or some kind of decentralizing the these carbon quota markets, the industrial carbon quota markets?
Yeah, so
well, we would be able to.
You want to go ahead, Aaron, and then I'll share after you're done.
Well, I was just gonna say that technically the specification that we that we have published in that pull request could be a decentralized carbon market. It would support a decentralized carbon market if there is an issuer for that credit. But the decentralized verification of carbon credits is something we're working towards, but it's just a longer term play. Maybe you can say a little bit more about that, Gregory.
Well, and there's a couple of other players in the space who are 100% focused on the carbon markets, and so we're kind of in conversations with these groups, both in creating a global carbon registry to a decentralized global carbon registry to make sure there's no double issuance, double spend challenges. But right now we're really in a process of discovering if it makes sense for these other dApps to basically utilize the Regen Network blockchain, because we're building all this backend tooling and because we have a validator pool that's dedicated and sort of like particular governance focused on this use case. And so, whether or not we end up sort of like cloning some of those projects or they just come over and adopt Regen Ledger is still kind of an ongoing conversation with some other projects. So it's not our immediate focus isn't it, and there's another piece here, which is that carbon markets, while they're fairly big and they're going to get much bigger, they're actually like significantly bigger sort of ecosystem service marketplaces, such as water, for instance, that we're wanting to make sure we have the capability to sort of bring those contracts and agreements on chain. So the best way to do that, we're still in kind of this negotiation process around, and my hope is actually that we bring some of these projects that are 100% focused on carbon onto our chain, basically.
Sounds great. This is what I wanted to know, if you guys are considering or looking into those markets.
Yeah,
so
definitely. Mm-hmm.
That's all my questions.
Cool.
Yeah, if you get a chance, check out the specification we have there. Check out the pull request. I mean, it doesn't.
There's a little, Aaron, there's a little, you and Fox were sort of speaking at the same time. So you were just inviting him to go check out the pull request, right?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't decentralize the verification, but I think it could decentralize issuance and, transfer and retirement of carbon assets.
Cool.
I'll check it out. But I was particularly interested about Regen because I'm validating.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, totally. And we'll keep the validators up to speed on sort of the business side of things as well. We're going to know in the next couple of months whether we're going to take a strategy of building it ourselves or of partnering and bringing other projects onto Regen Ledger and Regen Network blockchain. So, and I'd love, we would love your guys' thoughts about that too. It's sort of, there's a process to just identify what sort of keeps the most value on chain, what's best for the end users. I, in general, think building a bigger community is a better strategy. So I think we're interested in getting adoption of the tool that we're building from other dApps that have already been focusing 100% of their attention on those markets.
Absolutely. And one not so technical questions. Are you guys looking into exchanges listings?
Yeah, so we are, and we're also going to, as is spoken about in our sort of investor token sale materials, we're intending to have a very small amount of the tokens available for public sale and price discovery in a compliant way right after mainnet launch. And so we're in sort of negotiations and process with exchanges about that. It's not clear exactly, you know, we have a little bit of time between now and then, and we've just been vetting different opportunities to see what the best opportunity is going to be, to have some liquidity on the market and some sort of public price discovery moment.
Yeah, honestly, nowadays the liquidity always start with market makers. I'm saying that because I'm working for a listing department of our US-based exchange, and honestly, it's nearly impossible to start without one.
Yep.
It just pushes off traders and speculators otherwise.
Yeah, so we have some good relationships in that world, and are always happy for more. And so if you'd like to, you know, send us a private message.
I'll shoot you guys the listing form. It's a new exchange. It's based on a new engine. I'm not gonna show it to you. I'm just gonna send you the form, and you can check it out and decide.
We'll add it to our list of options. It's always good to have options.
Yeah. It's compliant in 42 states right now, so this is a good thing. As you know, Binance is going off the US for a brief time. I'm sure they will return to that market, but for that matter, this exchange is compliant in 42 states right now, and all of Europe.
Cool, thank you. Well, I'm noticing we're getting up towards the top of the hour. I'm not sure if other folks have any sort of roadmap and project vision questions, Alex or Melea.
Sounds great, really. All you say, the roadmap and all this sounds really great. I am happy for being this project and working.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you. We're really grateful to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for your work.
Thank you, guys. Good luck.
Yeah, thank you.
We are saying goodbye now, or not yet?
Thank you, everyone.
I think it's a good spot to end. Yeah, unless anybody has any last things that they'd like to share. Aaron, do you have any last comments, or Ethan?
No, I'm good. I think, yeah, thank you for the feedback in the validator. We're going to work hard to make next upgrade much nicer for everyone. And yeah, all the feedback's great, especially having people try different approaches, but make it safer. And yeah, hopefully get feedback in the roadmap. I'll be working with Gregory and Aaron on a blog post you should have out in a few days at least to recap about what he was saying, what Aaron was saying about the roadmap to get more future of where we're going. So hopefully we can work with that, especially if other people here are running Cosmos projects and you want to work on some of this stuff. As Aaron was mentioning, some of the stuff we're working on is really our core business logic. Other stuff is very generic, like upgrade a module, WebAssembly smart contracts, key management, and many projects want this. So we're definitely open for any other projects to collaborate on that core. Definitely happy for collaboration there, and then we can focus more on a core business model.
And that's a good plug, Ethan, and we'll keep sending updates about this, but there are working groups focused on these generic pieces in collaboration with the Tendermint team funded by the ICF. So we'll keep communicating about that, but that's just an important thing to sort of like, you know, replug that the generic pieces of this, we have a great working relationship with the Tendermint and Interchain teams, and we're sort of leading working groups of other zones working on common problems. So, and hopeful to see that happen more and more in the ecosystem.
Thank you for all the info, guys. Have a nice week ahead.
Yeah. All right, everybody.
Thanks for joining, guys.
Thank you,
Bye.
guys.
Ciao.
See you on Telegram. Bye.
Welcome, new guys.
Bye bye.
Thanks. Bye.